you heard yet about Future, the real estate conference by Appfolio? Appfolio has created an entire event dedicated to preparing your business for the future of technology and real estate. In San Diego on October 28th through 30th at Future, you will learn to seize the opportunity of AI and transform the performance of your business. Here's why you absolutely need to be there. Industry pioneers. Learn from 90 plus speakers, including heavyweights like Don Carpenter from Iron, Michael Akinwumi from the National Fair Housing Alliance, and Christy Fickert from RealLink. Miss out, and you'll be paying catch up all year. Epic keynotes. Hear from best-selling author Daniel Pink and three-time Olympic gold medalist Kerry Walsh Jennings. These are stories you won't want to miss. Cutting-edge sessions. Customize your agenda from over 45 sessions to dive into the latest AI trends, market forecasts, or growth strategies. There's something for everyone, including yours truly. I have the privilege of participating in 2 sessions on 2 panels, transforming the employee experience in an AI-enabled future and practical approaches for improving multifamily operations. And power networking. Connect with industry leaders and potential partners. This is the chance to build game-changing relationships. And live musical performances. See one of the most iconic R&B bands of all time, Boys II Men, perform at the breathtaking Rady Shell. Don't let your competition get ahead. Join us at Future and stay at the forefront of AI and real estate. Register now at futureconference.com. That's futureconference.com, FUTURECO.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 8 Stories, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. 8 Stories is the go-to podcast for anyone interested and passionate about enriching the multifamily community experience. I'm Sharon Cauthen, and this is my co-host, Jennifer Carter. Jennifer, what's the kind of overarching theme of the conversation today?
Yeah, we're going to take it to not something that has recently happened, I would say still, right? Which is the Blueprint Conference, which was held in Vegas. And although we're a few weeks out, there is still some opportunities to talk about, maybe not so in the weeds, but some general topics that, we kind of saw as highlights that are going to continue, I think, into, the next year of 2025.
You're right about that. I think that I had never been to Blueprint before, so I felt like I've had some really fresh takes on what was special about it to me as a newbie. But I think every year, whenever people just wrote their budgets, right? They're firming up those budgets for 2025.
Yes.
And one of the things you got to budget for is conferences. And how many do you have that you're allowed to go to when there are so many to choose from? In the multifamily space, what are they? Probably 10, 12 big conferences that you could go to.
Yeah. And really, honestly, where's the best bang for your buck in your position and what is needed for the company, right? Kind of on a personal level, maybe in your position, but then from an overall strategy of what the company is doing that you might be going on behalf of.
Yeah, I think you've got to be strategic about it and not just, but this one's so much fun and I want to do it. You've got to think about what's there that I can take away and really make an impact on our business. So
yeah, I think a lot of times people end up going and they have takeaways, but then have a hard time implementing those takeaways. Yeah,
I agree with that. Well, the one thing I would say about why you should choose or consider Blueprint is that it was different than any other conference I've been to in that it covered all forms of real estate, not just multifamily. And though you can be in your track of education where you're following just your business industry, there were many times when I popped into a session that had nothing to do with multifamily, but there were still some great takeaways that they had.
I was super interested to see. I'm passionate about hospitality and the customer service, and that was a really great lane, right? I think that we have a lot of similarities and so much we could take from that. The other one that I thought was super interesting was the construction, and because I've always sat on the marketing side, never really had my hands in on the construction, but it's just interesting to see the things that they're talking about that really ultimately play into the community once it's built. So really starting from ground zero, from that perspective. So I like that as well.
So I think if someone's looking for something that's really going to stretch them into different ways of thinking and approaching things, Blueprint's a great conference for that. And it's not so enormous that you cannot function within it, right? Like the trade show floor was manageable. And if you talk to somebody, if they knew somebody there, you could find that somebody in just a few minutes, and they would say, "Hey, this is who you need to talk to about that." So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and so yeah, I would definitely go again to Blueprint, and I'd give it
For sure.
to anybody a thumbs up if you feel like there's opportunity there. But wow, the things that we got to do, we'll hit on it again by the end of this session. But now we're going to talk about some of the things that were topical at Blueprint. So we'll go on to story 2, and that was AI. You could not turn a corner. You could not go to the bathroom. You could not go anywhere without hearing about AI. It is here to stay, folks.
It is the new buzzword.
It is. And we sat in on several sessions about it. And what became clear to me is that AI is not this like plug and play tool. You need to have really thought about what is it that what problem do we want it to solve? Because everybody who sits down in front of you to sell you their product has got a lot of sexy things that AI can do. But if those aren't things that solve your business problems, then it's not the right tool for you.
Which is interesting you said that, because somebody made the comment that in the trade show floor, every single supplier exhibitor on their sign had AI in it. Literally, like everyone. One of them, I think, said sewer AI. So it was like to dealing with sewer.
AI people.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. So to your point, you're right. Understanding that, I still think we're in a stage where these conferences are very helpful to understand the groundwork of what AI is, because we hear the terms GPT chat, we hear AI, we hear, I know we're going to talk about it next, but like workflow, automation, centralization, personalization. It's like all these words, but like understanding truly what each of these do and how it affects or can affect whatever you're trying to accomplish in your company, right? Or in your lane. So
for me,
again, still new.
Yeah, for me, I had to have a little bit of humility about the fact that these people who are up there speaking are much further along in this process than anyone that I've worked with on it. So it was really, one big takeaway was you have to make sure that your processes are firmly dialed in before you try to lay your AI over it. AI can't make a mess smarter if it's bad data.
Yeah,
you actually knew one of the women, and I forgot her name. You had your photo made with her immediately afterwards. And she talked about this quite a bit.
I don't know which one that was. I had a couple of photos.
You are so good at remembering to take photos, and I'm after the trip going, I took 2. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the big takeaway there, is to make sure you clean your house and make sure that you have your processes dialed down so that AI can bring you all the value that it's supposed to bring before you do integration process first.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, and a couple of the next ones really, I just kind of highlighted there, but that was that centralization and automation, right? There's those 2 other buzzwords that I feel like are still kind of flying around. What's happening. I think the other one that kind of comes into play with automation is workflows. I think workflows is the automation workflows of what are people doing, bringing in the repetitive tasks to the centralized office, using technology to collect for rent, again, maybe accounts payable. But where can we look at using technology to help on the centralization and automation of the workflows? Because from the maintenance perspective, we're never going to get rid of the people, and the people need to do the work. But where can the automation of workflows be helpful for at least the on-site team members?
Right. Well, I think most of this, 70% of this, is really for the benefit of the on-site team members. And also, so investors or asset managers, owners can have a clear view into what the data is and what story it's telling them. And I think that's important. That transparency is important. But I said in this that if you haven't started this, then you're behind, because most companies have already have a plan in place. If they haven't already moved to centralization, they are moving there because it's the only thing that makes sense. There goes a train that goes by my house. It never fails to buy recording. It's part of the culture of our little town. Anyway,
I love it.
That's part of it. Is just that you've got to get a plan in place, because you need your on-site team members doing the most they can do for customer experience and not spending their time doing things that can be automated or centralized.
Yeah, and I think that centralization, or I like the term automation, really helps the on-site teams focus on the human-to-human experience, and leaving the automation to the technology where our on-site teams don't have to be their head or face in an app, right? It's great that they have the ability, but really allowing them to focus on that customer experience.
I'm just so thrilled that we finally reached a place where, everybody pays their rent online, as opposed to the assistant manager having this many money orders, trying to log each one in individually. Like that's one of those things that technology reached a tipping point and there was no going back. And that's why I think some of these other things will at some point hit that tipping point, and it will be the way the business functions. The next point, though, on floor number 4 is about pain points, about the customer's pain points. What can you talk about that?
Oh gosh, one I'm just so passionate about is really making the leasing frictionless, and that really was a top priority. I think there was a lot of talk about the ease of technology and online leasing, anything from the after hours tours, solving these pain points continuously. I think that any consumer coming into the rental space or trying to find their home is really looking to take their everyday workflow of what they do outside and have it be seamless also. So the experiences we have outside of the industry, when you're renting, you want to have that same seamless expectation or experience, right? So I think that we still need to focus heavily on that, communicate the way residents or prospect renters want to be communicated, from leasing to being a current renter, being available when, I want to say all the time because that's a little ridiculous, but meeting them, the renter, where they're at when they're ready.
It really is. It is about thinking about that consumer experience. And I remember one stat that someone said from the stage that 70% of their leasing took place after hours, as customers are searching when they get home at night and they've got time to do some searching. And so the request for tours and all of that was happening way in advance of them. I mean, of speaking to a leasing agent. But that after hours thing is more and more important, and you have to think about your property and how it can work there, but it's not something to dismiss out of hand. And it's certainly a way to get the leasing funnel more populated.
Absolutely. I think the one thing that we still need to kind of, let's say, work out the kinks on in our industry is don't just put an AI bot and say that now you have somebody available after hours.
Yes.
Because that really ultimately isn't the experience. That to me is still creating friction. And that's not really helpful. A lot of times you still might have a question at some point. You might eliminate some calls, right, or questions, but there's still going to be a small portion of people that want a response, something even at night if they're searching, right? To have a human still behind that, right? There's a lot of experiences that I have where I am using the bot and I might get 3/4 of the way through, but then I still need a human. Like, I still want that, but maybe it's a different point in the journey that I reach to a human.
No, I agree. My father is elderly and asked me to call his doctor yesterday to make an appointment. And I knew it was the bot I was talking to. And I'm trying to get past the bot because I'm not going to give it the answer it wants. Right. And so finally I just lose it. And I'm like, speak to a representative. So I thought every time I feel myself doing that, that's the way our customers feel when they get trapped there. And the bots are getting smarter, and there are people who swear by assume we won't be able to tell them apart from a human. I remain to be convinced, but it's definitely something that some companies are really swearing by. So the story number 5 is about maintenance techs. What do you got on that?
Oh, maintenance techs, man. I don't know.
I love maintenance techs so much.
I know. I do. What is interesting about Blueprint specifically is, and we just did a podcast with 2 of our gentlemen from our network, Chris and Paul, about maintenance and AI. One thing I did see at Blueprint, which I was a little surprised on, is there was a lot of maintenance techs, tech software. Lots of other opportunities coming into our space, trying to figure out what the best solution is. Is it a tool or is it a solution for maintenance, right? Is it really going to help them? The one thing I think we still need to understand it in figuring out, I think for 5 years, we've had the opportunity to figure out the leasing side, right? What that looks like. I think we're still trying to figure that out, really honestly, from maintenance aspect, because I think that it's not about centralization. I think it's about specialization, and really looking at the folks that are not just generalists, but they're specific plumbers, right? They can maybe execute twice as many work orders because they are specific specialists in that area. So yeah, I think there's a difference between specialist versus a generalist, and we can again have technology to help that facilitate workflows and automation on where your on-site maintenance teams need to go. But ultimately, you still need boots on the ground. Is what it kind of comes down to, because I don't see a robot fixing a toilet anytime soon.
There are a lot of people that think we're closer to solutions on this. I think we still have a ways to go, frankly. It is the place where we get our most common reviews. Hello, I'm back. That was weird. Anyway, so we were talking about maintenance techs and how it was not, I don't think it's quite dialed in yet, but they do foresee a future where everybody will be in the lane of what their specialty is. It doesn't mean that you can't help with something else when there's a need, but by and large, if you are somebody who's excellent at HVAC, then it makes the most sense to put you on the HVACs.
Well, it's interesting. That just kind of dawned on me when you said that. It made me think of, like, even in my realm of where I've always worked is marketing. You can't be you can't be a generalist in marketing. Right, nowadays, it's social
Right.
media, it's graphics design, it's lead demand gen, it's a writer. So again, it's not a foreign concept to have specialization. Just might be new to the maintenance side of the business.
I think there are changes coming in maintenance. There's, as you said, there are a lot of the suppliers who were exhibiting, that's their focus. And so that tells me when there's that many eyes and that many dollars put into it, that is the next wave that's coming. We heard one man make a statement from the stage
sure.
that he had never in his entire portfolio had an on-site team. And it was like 2,200 units, but they were all in one city. So I think that makes it a little bit easier to sort of
That's
say,
right.
okay, we're going to dispense with your day from the office, like give you this is what you're going to do today. I don't know how it really works. He says it works for him, and I'm happy for him. I'd be interested to.
I do know a couple of management companies
Yeah.
that do that. So it is possible, but everybody has got such a different portfolio,
Right.
if you wish to say.
Well, we'll move on to a story 6, and this was something I had never heard of before, but apparently the term greenwashing is used whenever a company sort of makes a claim that they are doing something in their sustainable in their work that makes the product, less damaging to the planet. They may even have some sales figures on that where they're like putting it up as they're advertising, but it's forward facing that they are doing all of this, and then you look underneath the hood of that company and they're really not. They may be recycling at the office or doing something that's really low level. That is not the same as being a company that operates as a green or sustainable company. It's just a way to sort of make it sound like you're doing it, so you get the benefit from your customers of being a green company. And so they said the next thing is AI washing, and that's when a company sort of makes it sound like they are really using AI in a really profound way in their business, and instead they're really just using the lowest tier bit of it, like ChatGPT or
I was just thinking that.
I think it'll be interesting, and soon that will become really obvious because companies will get really wise to asking those questions. So if you are using AI just a little, you need to be careful about how much of that you're selling to the world to say that it's absolutely you're an AI company. It's appealing, but because it streamlines operations, it can help resident satisfaction, but there's a big difference between really integrating it and just sort of saying that you are.
Yeah, I had never heard of those terms before, but it's absolutely, I feel like, an accurate term. AI washing as well as the greenwashing. I do think that over time, the ones that are doing it right or have taken the time in the beginning will excel, and the other ones will kind of have to level up, or will maybe have to choose a different route from that perspective.
They'll either need to level up or they'll need to stop advertising that they're doing something that they're really not. Because at this point, I used ChatGPT with my granddaughter to write a book. So if a 9-year-old can do it, you can't claim that that's driving as an AI-driven transformation of your business. Well, we want to make the last story kind of fun, and that is, well, we've got one more before we get to the fun, and this one's not so fun. Story number 7 is about institutional fraud, and this has been a conversation that you and I have had before, and I've had it with lots of other people, and where it became a real just challenge for the industry is that there was a whole other industry dedicated to false documents and making it hard for us to prove whether somebody really qualified to rent there or not. And if they didn't, and they got in anyway, and just these false fraudulent documents, then you were stuck with these people who weren't going to ever pay your rent. They're going to eventually trash the unit and move out right as you're evicting them. So it's a huge loss for you. But now finally there are companies that are far enough along with fraud detection technology and all of the technology of AI and machine learning. They know what the documents look like. They would know minute changes that would make it fraudulent. So I think that's exciting that we're moving to a real solution for that, because it feels like the people who are dedicated to fraud are, man, that's what they eat, sleep, and drink. And it's tough, but I think we're getting closer and closer to that being in our rearview window.
I think it's going to become, I won't say an everyday thing, right? But it's becoming part of the process or the flow. It's becoming just, embedded into our experiences, and especially in our industry.
Yeah, I mean, I still see on like on some of the chat things that the companies are struggling with it, right? Is this real or is it not? And I think that's where technology can really be your friend. All right, we're going to close this out with our last story, and this is going to be really quick. But this is what was your personal highlight, the unexpected thing that you really enjoyed at the conference?
Well, I thought my highlight was going to be meeting the Property Brothers. Although some other folks did get their photo, I did not know they were roaming around. Although their
session, the doors open, she's down at the front row.
I literally was the first one there. Either everybody was super tired or I was just really awake. But their session was great. I, had a lot of great, interesting feedback. I don't know if I could say this, but their marketing line or their business line is no asshole policy, which I love. Yeah, and I love the fact that they want to invest in businesses, not just an idea. They get some great feedback takeaway on social media and marketing and how and where they put their name and making sure it's credible. From that takeaway. So I really had an overall, I love hearing real actionable things that we can do and take away. Plus I'm a big fan. So that was my favorite
awesome
session.
In that it did not feel like a canned pitch that they've given 25,000 other times. They just were real themselves, sitting in the chair and answering questions and talking. And I love that genuine sort of presence. All right, so the last thing I'll tell what my sort of feel-good moment was, and that was they had a pet park in the middle of the trade show, and in NAA they had one kind of off the side with big dogs that you go in, but these had 8-week-old puppies, and these puppies are pound puppies. So they work with a local rescuer, and they use the puppies to raise money by going to these conferences. And I'm telling you, you get to go in and love on a puppy, and whatever you're stressed about is suddenly relieved if you're holding an 8-week-old puppy. And so I think from a mental health standpoint, how exciting could that be if we found a way to carry that into our amenities that are into our events? So you never know where the good ideas are going to come from. Do you think?
I was gonna say, maybe we'll just have puppies at every trade show.
Since I can't have puppies at home, yes, please. All right, everybody. We will be back next time with another episode of 8 Stories. Thank you so much.